The whole room laughed when the janitor stepped onto the dance floor until she started to dance. Before we begin, let me extend a quick invitation to you. While you watch, write in the comments, where are you watching from? I read everything, and it's amazing to see how far these stories go. If you like intense love stories, of those stories that talk about pain, overcoming challenges, difficult choices, and real new beginnings, take advantage of it and subscribe to the channel. This greatly helps the channel grow and allows me to continue bringing profound narratives like this one, made to truly touch people. Now take a deep breath, get comfortable, because the story you're about to hear isn't just about love. It's about dignity, courage, and the right to exist without asking permission. Houston shone as if it had been hand-polished that very night. The hotel's ballroom was an ocean of golden light reflecting off giant chandeliers, with crystals hanging like frozen drops. Round tables with ivory tablecloths, arrangements of white lilies and tall candles, champagne glasses clinked with a delicate, almost rehearsed sound. Expensive perfumes mingled with the sweet aroma of desserts and the varnish of the impeccable wood. On stage, a screen displayed phrases about hope, overcoming challenges, and the future. And there, amidst laughter, flashes, and rehearsed poses, it seemed that nothing ugly existed in the world, except at the back of the hall. Marisol, called Mari by those who wanted to shorten her life, worked in silence, as if she were a shadow authorized to circulate. She was in her early 20s, with tanned skin warmed by the light, and a face of understated beauty, marked by a seriousness that didn't match the lightness of the party. Her dark hair was tied in a simple, firm bun, without adornment. Navy blue uniform, thin gloves, a discreet cleaning cart with folded cloths and a bottle of lemon-scented cleaning product. She knelt carefully before a mark on the floor, a small, insolent stain, as if it had decided to defy all that wealth. Mari wiped it with controlled movements, repeating the pressure on the same spot until the shine returned. The sound of the master of ceremonies reached her like a distant echo, amplified by the microphones. And now, a generous donation, in the name of hope, in the name of a better tomorrow. The audience applauded, cameras turned, perfect smiles. Mari didn't applaud. She didn't have the energy for it. She had work to do. She overheard her own name slip out, by chance, from the mouth of a woman hurrying past, dressed in an emerald green dress and high heels, like a threat. "Be careful not to get it dirty, okay? What? Mari will clean it up later." The woman laughed briefly. Without looking back, Mari swallowed hard and continued rubbing. Her gaze avoided everyone else's. It was a learned trick. If you don't see, maybe they won't see you. But that night, they saw. Near the dance floor, a group of influential young people, the children and nephews of donors, people accustomed to turning anything into content, formed a lively circle. They glowed with boisterous joy, fueled by drink and certainty. Designer clothes, expensive watches, laughter that was too loud. Brittany Ashford was the center of attention in that group. Blonde, with impeccably styled hair in loose waves, perfect makeup, and a sharp smile. She didn't seem to be made of flesh and blood. She seemed to have been made to be seen. Beside her, others laughed, filmed, and commented. A young man in a slim-fit suit, with his jacket open and a flushed face, pointed towards the back of the room. "Look there, the cleaning lady." Brittany followed the finger, her eyes sparkling with an idea. "Oh no, seriously, the party's dying down. Let's give it some energy. Don't mess with that, Britt." Someone tried, laughing nervously, as if they already knew it was pointless. "Relax, it's all fun. Everyone will love it." She raised her cell phone, already recording. Another person turned on the front camera. Two of them walked towards Mari as if they were going to retrieve a prop. Mari realized it too late. When she looked up, she saw those smiling faces approaching with determined steps, as if they were going to the stage. "Hey, you," said Brittany, in a tone that was too sweet to be kind. Mari straightened up slowly, holding the cloth. "Sorry, I'm working. At a party like this, you should be having fun." Brittany tilted her head, feigning sympathy. "What's your name?" Mari hesitated. "Marisol, how chic." Brittany laughed. "Come here, Marisol. We want to introduce you. I can't. I need to." One of the boys was already holding her arm, not forcefully enough to hurt her, but forcefully enough to prevent her escape. It was the worst kind of force, the kind that leaves no mark on the body, only on the soul. "Just a minute," he said. "It's for the sake of the party." Mari looked around for help, but the eyes of those who saw her looked away. Some adults pretended not to notice. Others watched as if it were an amusing detail, a break in the program. She tried to pull her arm back. "Please, I have to go back." Brittany stepped back, directing like a stage director. "Guys, make room! Let's go, everyone!" And then, as if it were natural, as if Mari were part of the entertainment included in the gala package, they pulled her to the center of the dance floor. The floor there seemed brighter, more exposed. The lights were brighter, and the music, at that moment, faded as if the entire hall held its breath. Mari stood still in the middle, cloth still in her hand, her heart pounding so loudly it sounded like a drum inside her chest. She heard a scream coming from the circle of young people. "Look, it's the cleaning lady! Dance for us!" Laughter came along in waves, first from the young people, then from older people, who didn't know if they were laughing out of discomfort or complicity. Laughter that tried to seem lighthearted, but sounded like metal scratching glass. Mari felt her face burning. The heat rose up her neck, her cheeks. Her eyes searched for an escape, but there was none. There were only eyes, many eyes. She took a step back. I didn't. Her voice faltered. She tried to move out of the circle, but someone closed the space with their body, laughing. "Oh, don't ruin it!" Brittany sang, as if talking to a child. "Just dance a little. Mari, smile. Isn't that what you guys do? Liven things up?" Mari swallowed the humiliation as if it were dirty water. She tried to dodge it, but the low heel of her work shoe caught a tiny irregularity in the floor, an almost invisible unevenness, and she tripped. The moment was quick, cruel. Her body tilted, her arm struggled to steady itself. The cloth fell to the ground like a surrendered flag. And the laughter turned into a punch, a unique, heavy sound that crushed her chest from the inside. She knelt for a second, her hands on the gleaming floor, as if apologizing to the ground for existing. Brittany raised her eyebrows, feigning concern. "Oh my God, be careful. Did you see? Poor thing. She doesn't even know how to walk around here." Someone laughed loudly. Another filmed it closer. Mari lifted her face, her eyes brimming with tears. And for a moment, the screen behind the stage reflected her image, small, in the center, surrounded by luxury and laughter. She tried to stand up quickly, like someone trying to erase a stain before anyone notices, but her legs were trembling. It was then that, from the stage, the band, perhaps without understanding or understanding too much, began a Latin song with a strong beat, marked percussion, a hot, lively rhythm, impossible to ignore. as if the universe had decided to offer one last chance, or one last trap. The sound filled the hall. The lights moved. The rhythm entered the bodies of those who were there, and Mari stopped. She stood there, but she didn't run. She didn't pick up the cloth. She didn't apologize. For a second, he closed his eyes, and something changed. It wasn't magic. It was survival. Her chest rose in a deep breath, like someone emerging from the water after nearly drowning. Pose straightened. Her shoulders, previously hunched, opened. Her presence grew, occupying the space that had previously seemed denied. When he opened his eyes, there was a contained fire there, not of explosive rage, but of a force that came from an ancient place. She started dancing, not like someone who wants to entertain others, like someone struggling to avoid being broken. Her hips moved to the beat with precision, her feet finding the ground as if they had known that rhythm forever. Her hands moved in the air, tracing lines of pain and courage. Her body told a whole story without uttering a word. The story of someone who fell, but refused to stay down. The laughter gradually subsided. One laugh was choked back. Another died in the middle, like candles being extinguished one by one. Brittany's smile froze. Her phone still pointed at her. "Guys, she's taking this seriously," she whispered, embarrassed. The young man in the slim suit murmured uneasily, "This is strange." And then the entire room, which had been laughing before, began to look for real. Not to be laughed at, to understand. Nearby, in a reserved area, Ethan Caldwell, one of the most important sponsors of the evening, stopped in the middle of a conversation. He was a man in his 40s, impeccably dressed, tailored suit, precisely combed brown hair, a handsome face of the kind that inspires confidence in commercials. But there was a hardness in his eyes, a tension that didn't match the tranquility of the wealthy. Next to them, Brittany, another Brittany, older, perhaps her mother, or an executive with the same name, was talking animatedly about numbers and donations. Ethan wasn't even listening. He stared at the center of the track as if he had seen a ghost. His hand, which was holding the glass, froze in midair. He didn't applaud. He didn't smile. He was scared, as if he had recognized something that shouldn't be there. Ethan whispered, almost voicelessly, "No, it can't be." The woman next to him frowned. "Ethan, what's wrong?" He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on Mari, as if her dancing body had pulled an invisible thread from the past. The music continued, and Mari continued, with an intensity that made the air seem thicker, more real. The entire room was caught up in that movement, and at that moment, something began to burn inside everyone, especially in her, and especially in him. The music ended, but the silence that remained was louder than any applause. For a few seconds, no one knew what to do. The hall seemed suspended in the air, as if that dance had displaced something invisible, yet fundamental. Mari stood still in the center of the dance floor, her chest rising and falling too quickly, cold sweat trickling down her temples. She felt her legs weaken now that her body no longer needed to fight. That's when someone started clapping, just one person, then another. A timid, hesitant applause, born not of respect, but of confusion. Some joined in. Others merely watched, unsure if it was too beautiful or too dangerous to celebrate. Brittany slowly lowered her phone. The smile didn't return. This got out of control, she murmured, to no one in particular. Mari didn't hear it. The sound inside her head was different. A loud buzzing, as if the world were too far away. She left the dance floor almost running, picked up the cloth from the floor with trembling hands, and crossed the hall without looking back. Each step seemed heavier than the last. Behind her, however, something continued walking. The video. On one of the cell phones, the recording had already been sent to a closed group. Within minutes, it jumped to another group. Someone cut off the beginning, someone added a quick caption. The cleaning lady who silenced the elite. Another wrote, "She was humiliated." Then this, chilling. Even before Mari arrived in the service corridor, the video was already on Instagram. First in private stories, then on a local Houston page that thrived on urban and controversial scenes. After that, larger profiles started reposting it. The algorithm did what it always does. It chose to speed things up. In the service bathroom, hidden behind a metal door with peeling paint, Mari leaned against the narrow sink. The mirror was old, stained, reflecting a distorted version of herself. She turned on the tap, let the water run, trying to deceive her own body, as if that sound could drown out what she felt. She was breathing shallowly, as if she were short of breath. "Calm down, calm down," she whispered to herself, her voice faltering. Her hands were trembling so much that she had to press them tightly against the cold ceramic. Outside, hurried footsteps, low, tense voices. Meanwhile, the world reacted. In the comments, opinions clashed like waves. That's pure overcoming. She put on a show. No, that was staged, totally inappropriate. Wrong place, wrong time, lack of decorum. Are you all crazy? She was humiliated. If it were a man in a suit dancing, they would call it art. The internet chose sides with the same ease with which a finger swiped across the screen, and each like was a bite, each share a piece torn away. On the administrative floor of the event center, the atmosphere was different. The director of institutional relations, a thin woman with a rigid posture and her hair pulled back in an impeccable bun, paced back and forth with her cell phone pressed to her ear. Her name was Karen Whitmore, and she carried the artificial calm of someone who had learned to appear human without ever losing control. "No, I'm not saying we approve," she said, in a restrained tone. "But we need to control the narrative. The foundation lives on its image." On the other side of the table, an aide hurriedly opened his laptop. It's already on 3 large pages, and going up. Karen closed her eyes for a second. "This isn't about bullying," she said firmly. "This is about reputation, and reputation is everything." In the service corridor, Darnell found Mari. He was a tall, black man with broad shoulders and a face marked by lines of weariness and gentleness. A maintenance supervisor for over 15 years, he knew every employee by name and every corner of that building as if it were an extension of his own home. He stopped when he saw the bathroom door was ajar. "Mari," she called carefully. She didn't answer immediately. Darnell pushed the door open slowly and found her leaning against the wall, her eyes red, trying to breathe without letting the tears escape. Hey, he said, approaching without intruding. "Look at me." Mari lifted her face, embarrassed, as if she had been caught doing something wrong. I shouldn't have done that," she murmured. "I just couldn't help it." Darnell shook his head firmly. "You didn't do anything wrong." She let out a short, broken laugh. "Everyone was laughing at me. And you stood up," he replied. "That's not a mistake. That's courage." The words almost made the dam break. Mari pressed her lips together, fighting back tears. "They're filming," she said quietly. "I saw the cell phones. They weren't seeing me. They were using me." Darnell sighed deeply. "I know. And that's what hurts the most. Before he could say anything more, firm footsteps echoed down the hallway. The event coordinator appeared at the door. She was a white woman, around 50 years old, wearing a light blazer, with a practiced expression designed to appear professional even when her heart wasn't in it. She held a tablet against her chest like a shield. "Marisol," she said, using her full name, which was too formal for the cramped space. "We need to talk about your behavior." The word landed heavily on our heads. Darnell turned around immediately. Behavior? She was harassed. The coordinator took a deep breath, visibly uncomfortable. This will be looked into. But her behavior in the middle of the track was unexpected, inappropriate for the context of the event. Mari felt something break inside. It wasn't a snap. It was a slow tear. "So," she began, her voice low but firm, "no one is going to talk about what they did to me." The woman looked away for a second. "That's not the point right now." Ali, Mari understood. The world wasn't celebrating her. I was consuming it. She was the video, the debate, the hashtag, not the person. The coordinator's cell phone vibrated. She looked at the screen and stiffened even more. This has already taken on bigger proportions than we imagined. Mari felt a chill run down her spine. "What does this mean?" The coordinator hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "You mean, this isn't going to end here?" Darnell frowned. "Are you going to punish her for something that went viral?" "Let's assess it," the woman replied coldly. "The foundation needs to protect itself." When she walked away, the hallway seemed smaller, more suffocating. Mari leaned her head against the wall. For the first time since the dance, her body stopped fighting, and in his uniform pocket, the old cell phone vibrated. A notification, then another one, and another one. She looked at the screen, her heart racing again. Thousands of views, unknown comments, and a private message that stood out, without a photo, without emojis, just words. "I know who you are. We need to talk." The next day dawned gray in Houston, as if the entire city were on standby. Mari arrived early at the event center. Her uniform was still folded the same way, but she put it on as if it were another skin, heavier than before. The corridors were silent, smelling of cleaning products and reheated coffee. Each step echoed too loudly, and she had the uncomfortable feeling of being watched even when no one was around. Her cell phone had been vibrating in her pocket since dawn. She didn't open it. She didn't want to see her own face transformed into an opinion. In the staff area, near the locker rooms and the materials storage, the world was different. No chandeliers, no glasses, worn beige walls, metal benches, lockers with dented doors. There, people existed without filters. Mari was organizing cloths when she heard something strange, footsteps that didn't belong there, firm, decisive, and costly steps. She looked up. Ethan Caldwell was standing at the entrance to the employee area. The contrast was almost violent. He wore an impeccable dark suit, without a single crease out of place, polished shoes that had never touched that floor. The subtle scent of a sophisticated cologne reached him before his voice. He seemed out of place, like a misplaced piece in a setting that hadn't been made for him. Some employees stopped what they were doing. Silence quickly fell. Ethan took a deep breath before speaking. "Marisol?" She froze. Darnell, who was a few steps behind, frowned. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Ethan nodded respectfully. "I just need to talk to her. 1 minute." Mari felt her stomach churn. Everything inside her screamed at her to get out of there, but her legs wouldn't obey. She walked slowly towards him, keeping a safe distance. "What do you want, sir?" he asked, in a neutral tone, too professional for someone who was still trembling from the previous night. Ethan lowered his head slightly, It wasn't a common gesture for him. Before anything else, I want to apologize. The words fell between them like something fragile. Because of what happened, because of what they allowed to happen. He hesitated. I should have done something. Right then. Mari crossed her arms. Her body instinctively tensed up. Sorry doesn't change what happened. I know, he replied quickly, but I need to try to do the right thing now. She laughed humorlessly. Right for whom? Ethan took another deep breath. For you. He stepped forward and lowered his voice. I can help. I've already spoken to a lawyer. If you want, we can file a lawsuit, or I can secure a better position here, an administrative role, far from that hall. He paused, as if treading on delicate ground. And there's another possibility, a scholarship. For dance. The word hit Mari like an electric shock. She took a step back. No, she said dryly. Ethan blinked, surprised. No, I don't want charity, she replied, her voice firm despite her racing heart. I don't want favors, nor doors opened because someone felt guilty. This isn't charity, he insisted. It's recognition. Mari stared at him, her dark eyes glistening with something restrained. Recognition of what? Of a video. The silence weighed heavily. She continued, lower, more intense. You didn't see me before the dance. You don't see me now. What you saw was a scene, and scenes pass. Ethan felt the blow. I saw more than that. Didn't you see? She interrupted. And it's better that way. He tried to approach again, but Mari raised her hand. Don't come any closer. Her breath was short. Inside her chest, an old fear began to stir. She couldn't let it. He couldn't allow anyone to dig too deep. I appreciate the intention, she said with effort. But all I want is respect and silence. Ethan watched her for a few seconds, as if trying to decipher something that eluded him. You don't owe anyone anything, he said finally. But you don't have to carry this burden alone either. She looked away. I need to. Without waiting for a reply, Mari turned and went back to the storage room. Darnell watched with concern. Ethan stood there, feeling that, in trying to help, he had touched exactly the wrong place. On the other side of the building, in the hotel's glass-enclosed cafe, Brittany stirred the sugar into her cappuccino without drinking it. She had seen everything. I watched Ethan get off the elevator. I watched his suit disappear down the staff hallway. I watched time pass. That wasn't just curiosity, it was an insult. When Ethan returned, Brittany flashed a perfect smile, practiced since childhood. A smile that didn't tremble. You're so kind, she said, touching his arm with calculated gentleness. Few people would do that. Ethan responded with a distracted nod. That was the least I could do. Her eyes narrowed for an imperceptible microsecond. I hope she recognizes me. This isn't about recognition, he said, oblivious to the hidden venom. It's about justice. Brittany chuckled softly. Of course. Justice. Later, alone in the car, she closed the doors, lowered the tinted window, and picked up her phone. The smile vanished, her face hardened, focused, almost cold. She dialed a number that wasn't saved. When the call was answered, Brittany spoke softly, each word chosen with precision. Find out everything about this woman. A pause. All. She hung up and leaned her head back on the seat. Outside, the city continued as normal, oblivious to the machinery that was beginning to turn. In the warehouse, Mari felt an inexplicable shiver, as if someone had just said her name aloud somewhere far away, and for the first time since the dance, fear overcame exhaustion. The foundation's meeting room was far too bright for such a dark conversation. The white walls displayed framed photos of past events, broad smiles, holding hands, giant checks with numbers that changed destinies. The glass table reflected everything, including whoever was sitting there trying not to look small. Mari kept her hands in her lap, her fingers tightly intertwined. The uniform seemed tighter in that space. Ahead of her, Karen Whitmore occupied the central chair, impeccable posture, a neutral expression like a form. Nearby, a man from the legal department was leafing through papers without looking up. Another member of the board was fiddling with his cell phone, impatient. Marisol, Karen began, her voice low and controlled. We analyzed what happened at the event. Mari looked up. What happened? To me. Karen didn't respond immediately. You exposed yourself. The word was used as a diagnosis. You disrupted the flow of the event, he continued. You created an unnecessary situation. Mari felt her face grow hot. I was pulled into the middle of the track. I tried to get out. The legal advisor cleared his throat, but his reaction was expansive. Expansive, Mari repeated, incredulous. Karen crossed her hands on the table. Some interpreted that as a provocation. The air left Mari's lungs in a short breath. Provocation. Darnell, seated further away, leaned forward. His face was tense, his eyes gleaming with restrained indignation. With all due respect, he said firmly, she was humiliated. In public. By guests at the event, Karen turned to him, her usual professional smile in place. Darnell, we understand your concern, but this conversation is about professional conduct. Professional conduct? He retorted. Since when did defending oneself become misconduct? The point, Karen interrupted, more harshly now, is that the foundation needs to preserve its image. No one said it aloud, but the truth hung in the room like an unpleasant smell. The donors didn't want employees becoming the subject of gossip. A good employee was an invisible employee. Mari felt this with painful clarity. Karen continued, given this, we decided on a reorganization. Mari frowned. What kind of reorganization? The legal advisor finally looked up. You will be removed from the events team. Her heart sank. Your new shift will be the overnight shift, Karen added, focusing on operational areas. This is punishment, Darnell said, without hiding it. Karen took a deep breath. No, it's an administrative necessity. Mari swallowed hard. And my salary? The same, Karen replied, too quickly. But the tasks will be different, heavier, Mari thought, lonelier, quieter. You can come back to work today, Karen concluded, ending the meeting as if closing a folder. We hope this episode is now in the past. Mari stood up slowly. Her legs felt like glass. Darnell tried to say something more, but Karen was already standing up as well. This decision is final. In the hallway, Darnell caught up with her. I'm so sorry, he said, his voice low, heavy with guilt that wasn't his. This isn't fair. Mari forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It never is. She walked through the building feeling like she was shrinking with every step, as if the place were expelling what she couldn't control. Night fell quickly. The night shift began with the heavy silence of the empty buildings. Mari cleaned enormous bathrooms, endless hallways, and carried garbage bags that seemed to weigh more than her own body. The clock ticked far too slowly. When she finally arrived home, close to dawn, the small apartment greeted her with a cold and still atmosphere. She threw her bag onto the worn sofa and picked up the mail that had fallen to the floor. Among ordinary bills, a blank check with the hospital's logo caught the eye. Her heart raced even before she opened it. It was an old debt, overdue payments. The mother's name at the top of the page, printed in formal, merciless lettering. Treatments, exams, dates that Mari knew by heart. She sat on the edge of the bed, the letter trembling between her fingers. "How am I going to pay for this?" she whispered to the void. Silence offered no answer. Mari opened the dresser drawer slowly, as if afraid of what she would find. Inside, folded with excessive care, were her old ballet flats. The fabric was worn, the sole too thin, marked by time. They didn't match anything in that harsh present. She touched them slowly with her fingertips, like someone touching a wound that never healed properly. A lump formed in my throat. The dance that saved her could also be the thing that destroyed her. Mari closed her eyes, clutching her ballet shoes to her chest, while a question hammered away. Unanswered. How long could she endure being invisible? Ethan couldn't sleep that night. The spacious, overly quiet apartment seemed to echo images he couldn't switch off. Mari's dance returned in fragments. The control of her torso, the perfect alignment, the way she moved in and out of rhythm without ever losing her center. This wasn't the improvisation of someone who merely felt the music. That was technique. He got up before dawn, went to the kitchen, and opened his laptop on the marble countertop. The video was no longer difficult to find. It was everywhere. But Ethan didn't click on the edited versions, nor on those with added dramatic music. He searched for the original video. When he finally found it, unfiltered, unedited, without subtitles, he watched it in absolute silence. He paused. He went back. He observed it frame by frame. The alignment. He murmured to himself, "The weight transfer. You don't learn that on your own." The unease turned into certainty. Hours later, already dressed for work, Ethan made a connection that wasn't part of his corporate routine. On the other end of the line, Julian Moore answered in a sleepy voice. Julian was a choreographer, artistic director of a respected company in Austin, someone Ethan had known for years through cultural sponsorships and charity events. "Do you know what time it is?" Julian complained. "You need to see something," Ethan replied bluntly. Now, minutes later, the two were connected via video. Ethan shared his screen. Julian started out distracted, leaning back in his chair. But as the video progressed, his posture changed. His body leaned forward. His eyes became too focused. "Stop!" Julian pleaded. "Go back there." Ethan obeyed. Julian pointed to the screen. "See this? The use of the floor. The core control. This is serious training." "How serious?" Ethan asked. Julian took a deep breath. "This sounds like something a company would do. Or a top-tier school, not a neighborhood workshop." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. "She works as a janitor." Julian gave a short, incredulous laugh. "So someone threw talent away. Or someone ran away from something." The call ended, but the phrase kept nagging at me. Ethan tried to talk to Mari that same day, but she didn't answer. No text, no call. On the third day, he decided to show up again at the only place he knew she would be. The early morning hours. The building seemed different at that hour. Cold, empty, almost hostile. Ethan walked through the corridors until he found Mari pushing a cleaning cart. Her body tired. Her face closed in an expression of survival. She stopped when she saw him. "I told him I didn't want to talk anymore," she said, before he even opened his mouth. "I know," he replied, keeping his distance. "But I've discovered something." Mari sighed, exhausted. "I have nothing left to lose." Ethan hesitated for a moment. "You had professional training. She froze. The cloth slipped from her hand and fell into the stroller. The silence between them became too heavy. "Who told you that?" she asked, her voice low and overly controlled. "I saw it," he replied, "and I asked someone from the industry to analyze it. It doesn't lie." Mari closed her eyes for a second, as if she had been struck in a place she had protected for years. "I didn't want this to come to light," she murmured. Ethan moved a little closer. "Why?" She took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping. "Because dance was the part of my life that I missed." They sat on a bench against the wall, under a cold light. Mari spoke slowly, like someone walking on unstable ground. "I studied dance when I was young. Community scholarship. A small but serious school. I trained every day. I dreamed big." A sad smile crossed her face. "Too big." "And what happened?" Ethan asked cautiously. She took a while to answer. "Life happened." The silence stretched until Ethan touched on the point that still bothered him. "I searched through your old records," he said, measuring each word, "and I found something strange." Mari looked up, alert. "What?" Her name wasn't Marisol Vega. The air seemed to leave the room. It was Marisol Reyes. She stood up immediately. "You shouldn't have done that. I needed to understand." He insisted. "Why change your last name?" Mari turned her face away, her teary eyes reflecting the cold light of the hallway. Her hands trembled, but she no longer hid them. "For security reasons," she replied, almost in a whisper. "Whose safety?" Ethan asked, feeling like he was crossing a line of no return. Mari stared at him. There was fear there, and love. A love so strong it seemed to sustain everything she was now. "From my son." The word fell like a belated, but definitive revelation. Ethan was speechless. "You have a son?" Mari nodded, a tear escaping despite her attempt to control it. "And he's the reason I disappeared from the world you've just rediscovered." The silence that followed was not empty. It was a prelude to something much bigger. "If you've made it this far, leave a comment." Respect. So I know that part resonated with you. And we still confuse those who only skim through the comments. The silence following the revelation was not immediate. He came slowly, like something approaching silently. Mari remained standing in the empty hallway, her body tense, her arms crossed as if trying to protect herself from what she had just said. Ethan remained seated, unhurried, without hasty questions. For the first time, he seemed to understand that some truths cannot withstand interrogation. "I don't talk about it all at once," Mari said after a while. Her voice was low, broken in invisible places. "I can only do it in pieces." Ethan nodded. "However you can manage it." She took a deep breath, her eyes lost on some point of the peeling wall, as if that corridor could transform into the past if she looked too long. "I was 19 years old," he began. "I danced at a school involved in cultural projects. I wasn't famous, I wasn't elite, but I was real." The words came out restrained, without exaggeration, as if she were reading a report about herself. A professor started to get closer, not all at once, little by little. She paused, swallowing hard. He was important. He had a name, contacts. He said I had talent, that I could go far. Ethan felt his stomach clench. He didn't interrupt. "I said no," Mari continued, with quiet firmness, more than once. She closed her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was lower. After that, everything changed. The hallway light flickered once, almost imperceptibly. My scholarship was cut. They put me at the back of the classrooms. They called me a troublemaker. A bitter smile appeared. They said I was making things up. Ethan shook hands. "You reported it." "I tried," she replied. "But nobody listened. He had prestige. I was just a girl from the neighborhood." The sentence fell heavily, as if it carried years of silence within it. Mari took another deep breath. "The worst part wasn't losing the dance," she said. "It was losing my footing." There was a long silence before she continued. "A short time later, I got pregnant." Ethan looked up, surprised, but remained silent. "It wasn't something I planned. It was quick, confusing. I don't like talking about it." She ran a hand over her face. "My father never took responsibility. And I had nothing left." She sat down slowly on the bench, as if her body had finally accepted the weight of history. "So I did what I could," he said. "I changed my last name. I changed my routine. I worked at everything that came my way. The words came in sequence, almost without emotion, like a survival checklist. Cleaning, kitchen, storage. Impossible shifts. No questions asked. No past." Ethan watched her with a quiet respect he had never learned in formal settings. "My son was born," she continued, "and I made a promise." She finally looked at him. "I promised that no one else would be able to use me. Not my body, not my talent, not my story." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "And the dancing." Mari let out a short breath, almost a humorless laugh. "Dancing has become dangerous." She looked at her own hands. "Every time I dance, it's like I'm turning on a light in a place I've spent years trying to extinguish." She swallowed hard, as if I were calling the past back. The silence that followed was dense, heavy with everything that had gone unsaid. Ethan spoke carefully. "You are not to blame for anything that happened." Mari didn't answer immediately. Then she shook her head slightly. "I know that here," she said, touching her forehead. "But here." She put her hand to her chest. "It still hurts here." The clock at the end of the corridor struck a new hour with a sharp click. Mari stood up. "That's all I can tell you today." Ethan nodded. "Thank you for trusting me." She hesitated before answering. "Trust isn't what I feel." A pause. It's exhaustion. She pushed the cleaning cart away, resuming her work as if she were closing a door. But something had been opened. And far away, someone was starting to put together pieces that shouldn't have been put together. Brittany didn't scream. He didn't make a scene. He didn't lose control. She did something far worse. She thought, alone in the spacious office of the apartment she shared with Ethan, a space decorated to impress, not to make people feel welcome. Brittany opened her laptop with the calm of someone who believes she is correcting an injustice. Her blonde hair was tied in an impeccable ponytail, her face without heavy makeup, almost vulnerable. Almost. On the screen, notes. Names, dates, small blank spaces. Marisol Vega, he murmured. Or rather, Marisol Reyes. She smiled sideways. A cold, satisfied smile. "So that's it," she said to herself. "You're hiding something." Brittany didn't need the whole truth. She only needed something credible enough to sow doubt. And that, she knew how to do like no one else. She made a few short calls. Nothing too direct. Nothing that could be easily traced back to her. Then she sent an email to a local journalist known for urban investigations, the kind that mixes investigative journalism with sensationalism. The issue was simple. Mysterious employee goes viral, changes her name, and deceives philanthropic elite. In the text, Brittany was careful. She didn't accuse. She suggested she used a different last name. There are no clear records of her past. He appeared out of nowhere at a high-profile event. Internal sources question the true identity. Nothing fake, nothing complete. Hours later, The story was published, not on the cover, yet, but enough to light the fuse. The mysterious caretaker. Who is the woman who deceived Houston? The comments changed tone almost immediately. Why change the name? That's suspicious. Con man? They are all being manipulated. The same internet that he had applauded was now frowning. The foundation reacted quickly, not to defend Marie, but to distance itself from her. A short, cold, emotionless note. The foundation clarifies that it does not condone individual behaviors that deviate from the institutional focus. We are investigating the matter. Marie read that on her old cell phone, sitting on the early morning bus, returning from work. The reflection in the window showed a face too tired to defend itself again. "They would never defend me," she whispered, more to herself than to the world. That same day, Ethan entered the apartment with steps that were too heavy for someone trying to remain calm. Brittany was on the sofa, holding a glass of wine, as if she had spent the entire afternoon worrying. "It was you?" Ethan said bluntly. She looked up slowly. "What are you talking about?" "From the article? From the leak? From her name?" He was breathing fast. "You messed with that." Brittany set down the glass with excessive care, as if each movement were part of a larger performance. "I only asked questions," she said, her voice soft. "Things any sensible person would ask." "You destroyed her life," Ethan retorted. Brittany's eyes filled with tears at just the right moment. "Not before, not after. I'm trying to protect you," she said, her voice trembling. "Do you realize what this could do to your image? To our reputation?" "Wow." Ethan repeated, incredulous. "Yes, indeed," she insisted, standing up. "Everything you've built could be jeopardized because of a woman you barely know." "I know more than you think," he replied. Brittany stepped closer, cupping his face in her hands. "Ethan, I'm trying to save you." He recoiled, as if the touch burned him. "You're turning me into the villain," he said, realizing it too late. "If I defend her, I'll become the problem." Brittany really cried this time, or at least it seemed like it. "I just don't want to lose you." But something had already been lost. That night, Ethan went looking for Marie. He found her outside the simple building where she lived, sitting on the steps, her cell phone turned off beside her. Her face was too calm for someone who had just been attacked again. "I'm so sorry," he said as soon as he saw her. "This got out of control." Marie didn't get up. She didn't cry. She just looked at him with painful clarity. "It didn't come out," she replied. "Someone pushed it." Ethan nodded, defeated. "I'll stay. I'll face this with you." She took a deep breath before answering. The words came slowly, deliberately. "You can leave whenever you want." He frowned. "I don't want to go." "But you can," she insisted, finally raising her gaze. "You always can." "I can't." The sentence was not said in anger. It was stated as fact. Ethan felt the true weight of it for the first time. The romance that was beginning to blossom between them wasn't built on promises. It was built on risk. And the world had already chosen to crush Marie once again. The foundation called it a reconnection event. A pretty name for an urgent attempt to put out fires with expensive flowers. The venue was different, but the intention was the same. Warm lights, neatly arranged chairs, an elegant stage with a large banner in the background, speaking of culture, inclusion, and empowerment. Important people circulated with calculated smiles, as if that night could rewrite the previous week. Marie was there because she had no choice. Extra shift, direct order, presence required. She wore a clean uniform, but her body seemed to carry a weight too old for that space. Her heart had been beating erratically since she entered. Something was wrong, even before anything happened. On stage, the master of ceremonies announced, with rehearsed enthusiasm, "It is an honor to welcome today one of the greatest names in the contemporary cultural scene, a mentor to generations, a tireless philanthropist, a defender of empowerment through art." Mari didn't hear the name. She heard the voice. It was just one sentence. A simple thank you to the audience, but the sound shot through her body like an icy shock. Blood streamed from his face. His hands began to tremble before his mind could comprehend why. "No," she whispered, almost voicelessly. Applause erupted in the hall. Mari didn't look up. She didn't need to. The past had a sound, and she recognized that sound better than she would like. Breath hitched. The air became short and thick, as if the room had suddenly shrunk. "No, no," he repeated, taking a step back. Darnell realized it immediately. He was a few meters behind, observing the movement, when he saw Mari turn pale as if she were about to collapse. He dropped what he was doing and approached quickly. "Mari," he said, holding her shoulders firmly and gently. "Look at me." She tried to speak, but no sound came out. "Breathe," he continued slowly, looking directly into her eyes. "Now, with me." She gasped for air, trembling. She exhaled. Again. The world didn't return to normal, but it stopped spinning. "I need to get out of here," she managed to say. "Go ahead," Darnell replied without hesitation. "I'll cover it." Mari turned and began walking quickly down the side corridor, the sound of applause still echoing behind her like a cruel mockery. On stage, the man was smiling, elegant, confident, well-groomed gray hair, light suit, the bearing of someone who belonged there. He spoke of opportunities, of young talents, of how art had saved his own life. Rebranded, untouchable. Ethan was in the front row when he noticed the commotion. He saw Mari practically running out. He saw Darnell looking worried. He felt his stomach sink. Without thinking, he stood up and walked down the hallway. He found Mari leaning against the wall, trying to control the body that insisted on remembering. "What happened?" he asked, alarmed. "Are you feeling unwell?" She shook her head. The words took a while to come out. "He's there," he said finally. "Who?" Mari raised her eyes, red and filled with something Ethan had never seen before. Terror, mixed with ancient hatred. "He destroyed my life." Ethan felt the ground give way slightly. "Are you talking about the speaker?" She nodded. "My old teacher. The man everyone applauds." The distant sound of the lecture echoed down the hallway. Laughter, applause. Ethan was silent for a second. Then, his face hardened. "Then this ends now," he said. "I'm going to talk to the board. No!" Mari interrupted urgently. "You don't understand." "I understand enough," he insisted. "This man can't—" Before he could finish the sentence, Ethan's cell phone vibrated. A short message. Objective. "No beating around the bush. We need to talk, now." Minutes later, he was in a smaller room with two members of the Foundation's board. The doors closed with a sharp click. One of them spoke first, bluntly. "We know you have a close relationship with the employee involved in the recent events." "She's not involved," Ethan replied, tensely. "She's a victim." The other man sighed, too patiently. Tonight's speaker is the Foundation's largest individual donor. The weight of the sentence fell slowly. "If you raise any accusations," the first one continued, "you lose contracts. You lose institutional support. You lose ground. Ethan sent you, O R Rariar." He's asking us to ignore a crime, he said. Incredulous. We are asking for caution, the man corrected. This type of system doesn't operate on emotions. System. The word kept echoing in his head. When Ethan left the room, he understood. Not intellectually, in the body. He understood the pressure, the silent blackmail, the way the world pushes you to give up without ever saying it out loud. Mari was sitting in the hallway, hugging her knees. He approached slowly. They're not going to do anything, he said finally. His voice was different, lower, more real. And if I try, I'll lose everything. Mari closed her eyes for a moment. When she spoke, there was no surprise at all. Now you understand? Ethan nodded, feeling something break inside. For the first time, he was on the side of those who have no way out. And on stage, the untouchable man continued to receive applause. The decision didn't come with a nice internal speech. It came as exhaustion. Mari spent the night awake, sitting at the small table in the apartment, her gaze lost between the sink and the window. Her son slept in the next room, breathing with the tranquility of someone who still believes the world is safe. She watched him for a few minutes before grabbing her bag. "I'll be right back," she whispered, more to herself than to him. The police station smelled of stale coffee and worn paper. Nothing there seemed prepared for stories like hers. The officer at the reception desk didn't even look up much when Mari explained what she wanted. "A complaint?" he asked, typing. "About what, exactly?" She explained. Not everything. Never everything. Just enough to start. His expression hardened. How long ago was that? More than 10 years. He sighed, as if he already knew the ending. "Do you have proof?" Mari swallowed hard. "No, not the way you want." "And why now?" he insisted. Finally looking at her, she felt her face burning. "Because now I can speak." The police officer made a short note. "Did you change your name?" She nodded, feeling the weight of suspicion fall on her shoulders. "For safety." "Whose safety?" She hesitated, but answered. "From my son." The silence that followed was not welcoming. It was evaluative. Each question seemed to push her back to the place she had tried to escape. Each form required her to explain herself again, as if the pain needed to be proven by repetition. When she left there, hours later, Mari was empty, not relieved, not strong, just standing. Her greatest fear was not the man she was denouncing. It was his son. She feared his name would appear somewhere. She feared photos, rumors, judgments. She feared that the protection she had built with so much effort would begin to crack. And Brittany realized that, as alert as ever, she sensed weakness and tried to exploit it. She called contacts, requested old files, tried to find anything that could portray Mari as unstable, confused, problematic. If she seems unbalanced, she told someone on the phone, no one will take it seriously. But something started to get out of control. Darnell didn't stand still. He talked to colleagues, to employees, to people who had been at that gala and who, days later, could no longer laugh at what they had seen. "I laughed," confessed a cleaning woman, her eyes downcast, "and I regret it." "Then speak," Darnell replied. Now, messages began to circulate, not viral ones, real ones. People offering support, testimonies about the climate of humiliation, about the abuse of power that was always treated as a joke. A small network formed, not of likes, of presence. Ethan made a choice that no one in his circle expected. He called a short meeting with the foundation's board without asking for permission. "I'm breaking away," he said bluntly. "I will no longer represent an institution that protects abusers in the name of donations." The reactions were immediate. You're going to lose sponsorships. Your name will be associated with conflict. You're throwing your career away. Ethan took a deep breath. So be it. On the same day, he published a public statement, not to speak for Mari, nor to portray himself as a hero. I am supporting Marisol's account as a citizen. I know this has a cost. I am willing to pay it. The impact was immediate. Some contracts fell through. Invitations disappeared. Doors closed, but others began to creak. A former student of that man saw the post. He read it. He stopped. It took him days to gather the courage. Then he wrote, "This also happened to me." Another commented, "Next, shorter, more direct." I thought I was the only one. The wall began to crack not with a single blow, but with fissures. Testimonies emerged, similar stories, patterns that could no longer be ignored. The untouchable man began to miss events, to smile less, to cancel lectures. It didn't fall because of a hero. It fell because too many voices, together, made more noise than the silence. Mari watched everything cautiously. She wasn't celebrating, not yet. She knew that the truth doesn't guarantee happy endings. But, for the first time in a long time, she was no longer alone. Months later, life didn't turn into a movie with quick cuts and final applause. It became more difficult, and it's more true. Mari continued to wake up early. She still felt the weight of a few days. There were still nights when the past knocked on the door unannounced. But now, it was no longer hidden within herself. The foundation was different. Not perfect, but different. After the scandal, boards were dissolved, names removed, contracts reviewed. It wasn't out of kindness. It was due to pressure, out of fear of a repeat. But real changes began to happen. Reporting channels were created. Mandatory training. Clear policies of respect for employees, including the invisible ones. Mari didn't become an advertising symbol. It became an internal benchmark. She received a formal offer to work in community support coordination, a modest but dignified position. Small office, better salary, a voice in meetings she didn't even attend before. On the first day, as she sat down at the table, she took a deep breath. "You belong here," she told herself silently. Ethan also started over. No headlines, no red carpets. He accepted a position at a smaller company, less prestigious, more real work. At first, the blow to his ego hurt. Then, something unexpected happened. He became lighter. "I sleep better," he confessed one night, sitting on the sofa in Mari's apartment, while her son drew on the floor. For the first time, I'm not trying to maintain an image. He and Mari didn't call what they had a fairy tale. They called it a conversation. They went to therapy, individually, then together. They talked about boundaries, about the past, about his fear of saving too much and her fear of taking on too much responsibility. They talked about their son. "I don't want someone who disappears," Mari once said. "I don't want to be someone who occupies a place that doesn't belong to me," Ethan replied. It was adult love, with pauses, with responsibility. There was no formal ballroom for his son's birthday. There was a simple community center with colorful walls and plastic tables, crooked balloons, a cake made by a neighbor, music playing from an old loudspeaker. Darnell arrived with his daughter, smiling, carrying a gift wrapped in plain paper. People from the neighborhood arrived with platters of food. Laughter echoed without rehearsal. There was no luxury. There was a sense of belonging. When the music changed to something more upbeat, Mari felt her body react before her mind. She glanced at the corner of the room, where an open bag revealed her old ballet flats. She hesitated. The son noticed. He approached and held her hand with complete ease. "Dance with me, Mom?" The sentence had no weight. That was all. Mari felt her eyes welling up, but she smiled. She stood up slowly, took off her shoes, and stepped into the makeshift space in the middle of the room. She danced, not to prove anything, not to silence anyone, not meant to be seen. She danced because she reclaimed the right to exist in her entirety. The body moved effortlessly. The smile came effortlessly. The past hadn't disappeared, but it no longer held sway. Ethan watched from afar, in silence, understanding that some victories don't call for applause. The song ended amidst laughter and spontaneous applause. Mari hugged her son tightly, and there, without cameras, without headlines, without a stage, the story came to a close in the most honest way possible. Final lesson. True victory is not silencing a laughing room. It's about not letting shame and injustice steal your voice. When we choose the truth with courage, dignity returns. And when she returns, she paves the way for many others as well. Before I leave, I want to hear from you. What did you think of this story? Did she touch you in any way? Leave a comment with a note of Aten, saying how much you enjoyed it and if this story made sense to you. Like the video. This really helps the channel to continue bringing stories like this. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, share. Sometimes, a story arrives exactly when someone needs it most. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because there are still many intense, human, and exciting stories to come. Before you leave, stay a little longer. I've separated another exciting story, even deeper, and it will touch you in a different way.